Dawn breaks over a barren stretch of Texas earth. Dust hangs in the morning air like breath that refuses to leave. A horse whinnies from the stables, and a young woman's silhouette appears against the rising light. Eliza Crane, 22, shoulders a saddle heavier than her small frame suggests. Her hair, tied tight beneath a worn bonnet, catches strands of gold as the sun climbs higher. Her hands are blistered, her dress torn, yet her movements are precise, controlled. The way she tightens the straps on the horse says she's done this 1,000 times, even if no one's ever said thank you. A man's voice cuts through quiet. "Girl, you're not to be out here this early." Bartholomew Crane, her father, steps out from the shadows of the barn. A tall man in a long black coat, hat low, boots polished, and eyes like cold iron. The kind of man whose presence makes the air thinner. Eliza bows her head, murmuring, "Just tending the horses, sir." His tone softens only for a moment, then hardens again. "Your hands are for finer things. We've got men for that." She doesn't look up. He wouldn't like that. Inside the big house, the air smells of cigar smoke and old leather. Bartholomew sits at the table, maps spread before him. 2 other men are there. One wears a sheriff's badge. Their voices drop when Eliza passes by, but she hears enough. Words like union, land rights, marriage. She grips the edge of the wall, listening. Bartholomew says, "The girl'll be his wife before the season's done. We'll keep the town in check that way." Her stomach twists. The sheriff grins. "You raise fine stock, Bartholomew, even in daughters." The laughter cuts through her like a blade. Later, alone in her room, Eliza opens a window, just enough to feel the wind. The horizon stretches forever, but to her, it's a cage made of distance. She traces her mother's locket. Inside, a faded picture of a woman who once smiled, the only person who ever did. A tear slips down her cheek before she wipes it away. That night, voices again. Her father and a foreman. She'll go to Cross Creek by week's end. Sheriff will pick her up there. Her pulse races. The walls close in. She grabs her shawl, her mother's locket, a small revolver from the drawer she wasn't supposed to know about. The stable door creaks as she slips inside. The horses stir. One, a black mare named Juniper, lifts her head, snorts softly. Eliza runs her hand along the horse's neck. "Quiet now," she whispers. "We're both done living in cages." Boot steps echo behind her. Her father's voice, low and commanding. "Eliza?" Her breath catches. She ducks behind a stall, heart hammering. The smell of hay and sweat fills her lungs. "Girl, if you're in here..." He doesn't finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. The sound of his spurs is enough. A sudden crash. A startled horse rears, knocking over a lantern. Flame bursts across the hay. Eliza leaps onto Juniper's back, the horse kicking free of the stall. Smoke fills the air as Bartholomew yells her name. She spurs Juniper hard, bursting through the stable doors into the open night. Wind tears at her bonnet. The ground blurs beneath her. Gunshots ring out behind her, sharp, violent. Sparks flash in the darkness. "Bring her back!" her father roars. Eliza doesn't look back. Juniper's hooves pound against the earth like thunder. The moonlight streaks silver across the plain. She can taste blood where she bit her lip, can hear the men shouting, can feel freedom claw at the edges of her fear. The river appears out of nowhere, black and wide and cold. She pulls the reins too late. Horse and rider plunge into the water. The current tears them apart. She surfaces gasping, coughing, dragging herself to bank with raw hands. For a long while, there is only silence, except for her heartbeat and the whisper wind through the reeds. Her dress is soaked, clinging. Her hair hangs like wet rope. She stares at the horizon, trembling. "We're now, Eliza," she whispers to herself. "Where do you go when there's no one left to run to?" Dawn comes again. Pale light spreads over the valley. She's walking barefoot, stumbling over rock and brush, when she hears it, the rhythmic clop of hooves behind her. She turns, reaching for the revolver, though her hands shake too badly to hold it steady. A lone rider approaches, a tall man with a dust-streaked hat and a rifle across his back. His horse is lean, his eyes darker than the storm clouds gathering behind him. He reins and a few yards away. "You look lost," he says, voice low, edged with suspicion. Eliza steadies her breath. "Just looking for work." His gaze flicks over her torn dress, her bleeding feet. He doesn't believe her, but he doesn't press either. "Work, huh? You can keep up. Maybe I'll find some for you." He nudges his horse forward, offering a hand. She hesitates, then takes it. His grip is strong, calloused, steady. As he pulls her up, she notices a scar on his jaw. Faded but deep, like someone once tried to erase him. He looks ahead, not at her. "Name's Caleb Ward. Don't slow me down." Eliza glances back toward the smoke, still rising faintly from her father's ranch. Her throat tightens. "I won't," she says. They ride off into the wild. Two strangers bound by secrets. The dust swallowing their trail as the sun rises behind them. The sun bakes the plains by midday. Heat waves ripple across the horizon, bending the land until it looks like it's breathing. Eliza rides behind Caleb, her legs aching, throat dry, mind racing with the pieces of her old life still clinging like burrs. He hasn't said much since they met. Just gestures, hand signals for when to stop, when to drink, when to keep quiet. His silence isn't cruel. It's disciplined, each movement deliberate, like a man who's lived too long by necessity. They camp by a creek that barely holds water. Caleb unpacks jerky and a tin cup. "You ever build a fire?" he asks. She shakes her head. "Learn." He tosses her flint. Her hands fumble. Sparks die before they catch. He kneels beside her, wordless, showing her how to angle the stone, how to breathe just enough air to feed the flame. It finally catches, a small flicker in the darkness. Her smile is faint but real. He notices, then looks away. The days pass in motion, hooves striking dirt, wind stinging faces, hunger gnawing quietly. She learns to patch a saddle, to load a rifle, to sleep lightly when coyotes call in the distance. Every night, she asks herself the same thing. What if he finds out who I am? By the fifth night, they reach a ridge overlooking a valley scattered with scrub oak. The air smells of rain and iron. Caleb studies the horizon through a battered spyglass. "Riders," he mutters. "How many?" "Too many to be friendly." She tenses. "Are they—" He cuts her off. "Could be anyone, but they're looking for someone." They wait until the riders vanish into the lowlands before moving on. Their pace faster now, more cautious. Caleb doesn't say aloud, but the way his hand hovers near his revolver tells her he's guessing the same thing she fears. That evening, they reach a half-abandoned town. 3 wooden buildings, half the windows boarded, a saloon door swinging in the wind. Caleb ties the horses outside a small church where a single bell still hangs. Inside, the air is thick with dust and echoes. A sheriff, gray-bearded and half-drunk, leans against a pew. "Travelers," he asks. "Married," Caleb says before she can speak. Eliza blinks at him. "Married." The word hits like a blow and a blessing at once. The sheriff eyes them, smirking. "Papers?" Caleb's jaw flexes. Didn't know God started requiring them. A tense pause. Then the sheriff grunts, amused. "Reckon not, but this ain't a safe stretch for strangers." Folks are asking questions. Eliza keeps her face still, though her heart is hammering. Caleb's lie might have saved them, or trapped them in something neither asked for. When they leave town, the sun is setting in streaks of red and violet. She rides beside him now, no longer behind. "You didn't have to say that," she says softly. He glances over. "Would you rather they asked whose daughter you are?" Her mouth opens, then closes. "No," she admits. They ride in silence. Wind whips her hair loose. She looks at him, at the easy steadiness in his posture, the unspoken resolve. For the first time, she feels safe, even if the safety is made of lies. Later, around the fire, she finally tells him her name, her father's, the truth that's been burning her from the inside. Caleb stares at her for a long moment. The crackle of the fire fills the space between them. "Bartholomew Crane," he repeats, his tone colder now. She nods. He spits into the dirt, jaw tightening. Your father took everything I had. The silence after that feels heavier than any storm. He lies down without another word. She sits awake, the stars blurring above her. She wants to explain, but what could she say? That she's sorry for a man's sin she never committed? That she never chose her bloodline? The sound of hooves tears through the night before dawn. Shouts. Gunfire. Caleb rolls, already drawing his weapon. Get down! The world explodes into chaos. Bullets snap through the air. The horses rear. Eliza crawls behind a fallen log, trembling. She sees men with torches, faces she doesn't recognize but voices she remembers, her father's men. Caleb fires back, steady and calm, moving like a man who's done this too many times. He takes down one then another, but a bullet rips through his shoulder. He grunts, drops behind cover. Eliza's scream is lost in the thunder of gunfire. Without thinking, she grabs his revolver, hands shaking, eyes blurring with fear and fury. A figure charges toward them. She fires. Once. Twice. The man drops, dust rising around his body. Her breath comes in ragged bursts. Caleb looks at her, bleeding but alive. You done this before? He manages. She shakes her head, tears mixing with dirt. No, but I wasn't about to let you die. When the last echo fades, the plains are silent again. The fire from the torches dies out, leaving the night hollow. Caleb leans against a rock, clutching his wound. She tears a strip from her dress and binds his shoulder as best she can. His skin is hot, his pulse unsteady. You're a stubborn one, he mutters. So are you, she replies. He almost smiles. Almost. Guess we're married now for real, he says, his voice faint. She laughs softly, the sound trembling between relief and disbelief. Guess so. The fire burns low. The stars return. For the first time, Eliza doesn't feel like she's running. She feels like she's standing still in a place that might someday become home. They move through the red mesas like ghosts, the sun beating down on their backs, the silence between them stretched thin as wire. Caleb's wound festers despite her care. His breath comes ragged, his strength fading with each mile. Eliza rides beside him, her face set, her eyes hollowed by sleepless nights. She refuses to let him fall. By dusk, she finds a small ravine hidden by stone and brush. They make camp there, the wind howling to the canyon walls. Caleb slumps against the rocks, pale and sweating. His hat slides off. She presses a damp cloth to his forehead. Stay with me, she whispers. He opens his eyes just enough to look at her. You should have left me back there. I don't leave people to die. His lips twitch. That makes one of us. His words drift off. She stays up through the night, keeping the fire alive, listening for riders or wolves. When dawn finally breaks, she sees a figure standing on the ridge above them. A tall man with long braids, a bow slung over his shoulder, and eyes that carry a quiet kind of knowing. He descends the slope without fear. Eliza stands, her hand hovering near Caleb's revolver. The man raises a palm in peace. Put that away, he says calmly. He's not going to last till sunset unless I help. Something in his voice, steady, certain, makes her lower the gun. He kneels beside Caleb, opens a small leather pouch, and takes out herbs, crushed roots, a curved bone knife. Eliza tenses, but the stranger works with care, cleaning and packing the wound with a steady rhythm. Caleb groans but doesn't wake. Who are you? She asks. Toka, he says simply. He and I fought side by side once a long time ago. She looks down at Caleb, then back to Toka. You know him? I know the kind of man he used to be, Toka replies. The kind who believe there's still good left to protect. The days blur. Toka teaches her to grind herbs, to set traps, to read the sky. Caleb's fever breaks on the third night. He wakes weak but alive. When he tries to sit, Toka pushes him back down. You move too soon, you die, he says flatly. Caleb grunts but obeys. In the evenings, Eliza and Toka sit by the fire. He speaks rarely, but when he does, his words cut deep. You carry fear like a cloak, he tells her one night. It kept you alive, but now it will choke you. She looks into the flames. I don't know how to live without it. He nods slowly. Then learn. Freedom costs what you can't get back. The next morning, she wakes before sunrise and practices with Caleb's rifle. Her aim is poor, her shoulder bruises, but she keeps trying. Toka watches from a distance, arms crossed. By noon, she hits the target dead center. When Caleb sees her, he smiles faintly. Didn't think you'd take to it. I didn't think I'd have to, she answers. That night, Caleb tells her what she never asked. His voice is quiet, almost like confession. I worked for your father once, long before you were grown. She stops moving. He hired me to drive settlers off land he wanted, families with nothing but the dirt under their boots. I said no, so he made sure I lost everything I had. He turns his head, the firelight glinting off the scar at his jaw. That's what that cost me. She stares at him, the truth landing heavy. Why didn't you tell me before? He shrugs weakly. Didn't matter till it did. She wants to speak, to apologize for what her father did, but Caleb's eyes stop her. He isn't blaming her. He's just tired of running from ghosts. They fall into silence again, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the low hum of the wind through the rocks. Eliza opens her mother's old locket, takes out the folded scrap of paper inside, a verse from a poem, worn and faded. She reads it aloud. And though I walk through shadows deep, I'll ride toward the sun I seek. Caleb listens, eyes half closed. That's a good one, he says. Your mother write it? She used to read it to me every night. He nods. Sounds like she knew something about freedom, too. Their eyes meet across the flames, something wordless passing between them. She leans closer, instinctively, until she can feel his breath. But before their lips meet, a distant sound cuts through the stillness, the echo of a horse's whinny. Toka is suddenly on his feet, listening. They're close, he says. Eliza's blood runs cold. How many? Enough. Caleb tries to rise, wincing. You need to go. Take the horse, head north. She shakes her head. I'm not running again. Eliza. No. Her voice is steady now, hard as flint. I ran from my father, from fear, from everything I ever was. But I'm not running anymore. Toka studies her, then gives a slow nod. Then you fight. He hands her the rifle. The sky darkens with approaching storm clouds, wind picking up dust from the canyon floor. The last light of day paints their faces in gold and shadow. Eliza chambers around, her hands steady. Caleb looks at her, this woman who was once a frightened daughter, now standing tall beside him. You sure about this? He asks quietly. She nods, more sure than I've ever been. Thunder rolls in the distance, like a warning or a promise. The storm breaks at dawn. Wind whips through the canyon, dragging sand and smoke into the air. Eliza crouches behind a boulder, rifle in hand, her heart thudding so hard it shakes her ribs. Caleb is beside her, pale but steady, his revolver gleaming dully in the low light. Toka watches from higher ground, bow drawn, eyes fixed on a ridge where the sound of horses grows louder. The first shots echo through the valley. Dust explodes near Eliza's boots. She fires back, the recoil kicking against her shoulder. A man falls from his horse. Another circles wide, trying to flank them. Caleb takes him down with 2 clean shots. Toka looses an arrow that catches the third rider square in the chest. The man tumbles, screaming, into the dust. They're outnumbered but not outmatched. The canyon walls funnel the attackers into narrow lines, giving them cover. Still, for every one that falls, 2 more appear. Smoke from gunfire mixes with the rain, turning the air into a haze of mud and fire. Eliza! Caleb shouts over the chaos. Keep your head low. She ducks as bullets snap past her, chips of rock stinging her face. Blood trickles from a cut on her cheek. She wipes it away with her sleeve, reloads, and keeps firing. Her movements are instinct now. No fear, no hesitation. Just survival. A rider breaks through the dust, closer than the rest. Eliza raises her rifle, ready to fire, then freezes. Bartholomew Crane. His coat is soaked, his face streaked with mud, but his eyes burn the same way they always did. with control, with fury, with ownership. Eliza, his voice booms across the canyon. Come out now before more men die. She doesn't move. Caleb's jaw tightens. He's not bluffing, he mutters. Toka glances down at her from the ridge. This is your fight now. Eliza stands slowly, stepping out from behind the rock, rifle still in her hands. The rain slicks her hair against her face. She takes one careful step at a time toward her father, each footfall sinking into the mud. Bartholomew dismounts, gun drawn but lowered. You've gone and made a fool of yourself, he growls. Running off with a drifter, a thief. You belong home. I don't belong to you, she says. Her voice doesn't shake. His eyes narrow. Everything you are came from me. She lifts the rifle. Everything I am survived you. Caleb watches, blood seeping to the bandage on his shoulder, every muscle coiled in case she falters. But she doesn't. Bartholomew takes a slow step forward. You think he loves you? Men like him don't stay. They take what they need and ride on. Her grip tightens. Maybe, but he never tried to cage me. He sneers. You think this is freedom? Living like an animal in the dirt. Her voice drops, sharp as a blade. Better the dirt than your chains. The air holds its breath. Then, in one movement too fast to think, Bartholomew raises his gun. 2 shots ring out, one from his pistol, one from hers. The sound rolls through the canyon, swallowed by thunder. Bartholomew stumbles, hand clutching his chest, eyes wide in disbelief. He falls to his knees, mud splattering up his coat. For a moment, he tries to speak. Her name, maybe, but no sound comes. Then he collapses, still. Eliza stands frozen, rifle trembling in her hands. Caleb limps toward her, blood and rain dripping from his sleeve. Toka descends the ridge, silent as ever. The 3 of them stand in the storm's dying light, surrounded by fallen men and echoes of violence. Finally, Eliza lowers the rifle. Her hands are shaking, but her eyes are clear. Caleb reaches her, his breath uneven. You did what you had to. She nods, unable to speak. Then he sways, the color draining from his face. The wound in his side has reopened, blood soaking his shirt. She catches him before he falls, kneeling with him in the mud. Stay with me, she whispers. Please. He manages a faint smile. You sound like me now. Her tears fall onto his chest. You can't die, Caleb. Not after all this. He brushes her cheek weakly with his thumb. If freedom's a person, Eliza, she looks like you. His hand falls away. The world goes quiet except for the soft patter of rain on stone. She holds him long after his breath fades, until even the storm seems to stop out of respect. When she finally rises, dawn is broken again. Soft gold spilling across the canyon floor. Days later, Eliza rides alone. Caleb's hat shades her eyes, his rifle strapped across her back. She follows the river north until she reaches her father's land, what used to be his empire. The ranch lies silent now, its fences broken, its workers scattered. She reins in her horse and stares at it for a long moment. Then she dismounts. One by one, she tears down the signs that bear her father's name. She opens the gates, frees the horses still penned inside. People begin to return, families who once worked under her father's hand. Faces worn but hopeful. She helps them rebuild. Not a kingdom, a refuge. Toka appears at the edge of the property one evening, his horse grazing quietly beside him. You stayed, he says. She nods. Someone has to. He gives a faint smile. Then you've learned. He turns his horse and rides off toward the horizon, leaving her standing in the light of a new day. Eliza walks the fence line and looks out at the open land beyond. The same horizon she once saw as a cage. Now it looks endless. She closes her eyes, breathes deep, and whispers, "Thank you." A warm wind sweeps through the fields, carrying dust, memory, and peace. She became the cowboy's wife to escape her father. But in the wild, she became her own freedom. The camera would pull back here, the shot wide, her figure small but unbroken against a vast expanse of land. The sky burns orange, then fades to gold. The screen would go dark. The story, for once, doesn't end with loss. It ends with choice.